Have you ever left a conversation feeling unsettled, like something was taken from you but you cannot name what it was? You did not raise your voice, yet somehow your boundaries were bent. Your thoughts, once clear, now feel uncertain. This is not weakness, it is the quiet power of manipulation. The most dangerous control is not loud, it is subtle. It wears the mask of care, of reason, of connection. But once you learn to see it, everything changes. In this video, we will explore how to recognize and outsmart the mind games that steal your clarity. Stay with me, this knowledge will set you free. Number 1. Gaslighting. Explained. Have you ever stood in a conversation fully certain of what just happened, only to be told that it never did? Maybe you called someone out for a hurtful comment, and instead of owning up to it, they smiled calmly and replied, "I never said that. You must be imagining things." Worse still, they acted offended, making you question if you were too sensitive or even unstable. This isn't just a harmless disagreement. This is gaslighting, a calculated attempt to dismantle your grip on reality so someone else can define it for you. Gaslighting is not merely lying, it is a slow psychological erosion of truth, a methodical distortion of your perception. At first, the shifts are subtle. A contradiction here, a minor denial there. But over time, these small fractures widen. They tell you that your memory is flawed. They rewrite shared events to suit their narrative. And when you question it, they look at you with pity, as if you are the one losing your mind. The result is devastating. You start doubting your own thoughts. You apologize for things you never did. You become dependent on them to tell you what is real and what is not. Why does it work so well? Because human beings are wired to seek harmony. We doubt ourselves before we doubt others, especially those we care about. If someone denies your reality with enough repetition and confidence, your brain tries to reconcile the conflict by leaning toward the version that causes less disruption. And just like that, you begin to erase your own truth. But the Stoics had a different approach. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is wrong, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth which never harmed anyone." Notice what he didn't say. He did not say that we should accept falsehoods to avoid conflict. He did not say that someone else's denial should overrule our own reason. The Stoic path demands clarity, not confusion. It asks us to stay rooted in what we know while remaining open only to honest correction, not manipulation. To protect yourself, begin by trusting your intuition. If you recall something with emotional weight and clarity, that is not a coincidence. That is your memory standing up for you. Hold on to it. Do not surrender it just because someone insists otherwise. Second, if you are dealing with someone who frequently twists facts, start documenting, save texts, write down conversations, keep a simple log of interactions. This is not for confrontation but for confirmation. When they try to spin the story, you have something solid to remind yourself that you are not imagining it. Your mind is intact. And finally, do not step into their game. When you start arguing with a lie, you give it power. You begin dancing to their rhythm. Instead, stand still and speak clearly. Say, "I know what I heard. I remember what happened," and then let it rest. No need to explain, justify, or seek validation. A manipulator thrives on your confusion. The moment you stop defending yourself against fiction, you take away the tool they use to control you. Clarity becomes your shield. And once you hold on to your truth with calm confidence, you become someone they can no longer move. You rise above the noise, and that is the beginning of real freedom. Number 2, guilt as a weapon. Have you ever heard someone say, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me"? Or maybe they didn't say it outright. Maybe it was a heavy sigh, a long pause, and then a quiet, "I guess I just expected more from you." If you've ever felt that twisting sensation in your stomach after hearing words like these, what you were feeling was not love, loyalty, or respect. It was guilt being used against you. And if you are not fully aware, that guilt will become a chain. You will find yourself saying yes when you want to say no, apologizing for healthy boundaries, and sacrificing your peace in the name of keeping others happy. Guilt tripping is one of the oldest manipulation tactics in human relationships. It is not loud or aggressive. It is quiet and disarming. The manipulator does not attack you directly. Instead, they turn your own conscience against you. They present themselves as the noble martyr, endlessly giving, endlessly patient, endlessly hurt. And you become the villain, the ungrateful one, the one who should feel ashamed. And because most of us are wired for empathy, because we do not want to see ourselves as selfish, we cave, we comply. We give up what matters to us just to make that discomfort disappear. And that is the trap. Because once they know they can push your buttons with disappointment, with silence, with a few carefully chosen words, they will do it again, not out of malice, but because it works. It gives them control without ever needing to raise their voice. They shape your decisions without taking responsibility for their influence. They bend your will by burdening your conscience. But the Stoics taught us that the only true power another person has is the power we give them over our mind. Epictetus reminds us that no one can harm you unless you allow it, and that includes guilt. Just because someone feels disappointed does not mean you have done something wrong. Their emotions are theirs to own. Your duty is not to comfort everyone. Your duty is to live with integrity, in accordance with reason and virtue. The first step to defeating guilt manipulation is to recognize it. Guilt tripping always has a pattern. It comes when you assert a boundary. It appears when you say no. It surfaces when you choose yourself. And when it does, do not respond with apologies or explanations. Do not beg for understanding. Respond with clarity. Say calmly, "I understand that you are upset, but my decision stands." You do not need to defend your right to take care of yourself. You do not need to make your needs small just to preserve someone else's comfort. The second step is to remember this simple truth. Standing up for yourself does not make you cruel. It makes you clear. Being firm is not being unkind. It is being free. When you refuse to carry emotions that are not yours, you do not become heartless. You become grounded. You become someone who is not easily manipulated, not because you are cold, but because you are centered in truth. A guilt manipulator thrives on your fear of being the bad person. But here is what they never expect: that you can walk away without anger, without apology, and without shame. That you can say no without explaining. That you can set a boundary and hold it with quiet strength. When you do this, their weapon turns to dust. In the end, guilt is only powerful when you allow it to define your choices. The moment you reclaim your mind, you reclaim your life. And in that space, no one can use your kindness against you. That is not selfishness. That is sovereignty. That is the Stoic path. Number 3, manipulative silence. Silence, when used with integrity, can be a powerful expression of presence. It can create space for reflection, understanding, and clarity. But when it is wielded by someone with manipulative intent, silence turns into something far more sinister. It becomes a weapon, not of noise, but of absence, not of words, but of deliberate withdrawal. This is the silent treatment, one of the most emotionally corrosive mind games used to gain control without uttering a single word. At first, it seems subtle. They stop replying. They give short answers. Their energy shifts. You sense a wall rising, though nothing concrete has been said. And your mind, conditioned for connection and meaning, begins to panic. You start asking questions. Did I say something wrong? Are they angry with me? Should I fix this? That inner unrest is exactly what they want, because while they say nothing, you start saying everything. You reach out. You apologize for things you don't understand. You overanalyze past conversations. You walk on eggshells, hoping to win back their warmth, and slowly, without realizing it, you hand them the control. This tactic is powerful because it taps into the most fundamental human needs. We all crave resolution. We want to feel understood. So when silence replaces communication, it triggers fear, uncertainty, and emotional urgency. The manipulator knows this. Their silence is not a sign of deep thought or wounded emotion. It is a performance designed to unnerve you. The longer they remain distant, the more you twist yourself to restore the bond, and the more power they gain without having to say anything at all. But the Stoics taught that peace does not depend on the presence or approval of others. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." When someone withholds their voice or affection, what truly hurts us is not their silence, but our belief that we must do something to earn their return. That belief is the chain, and the moment we release it, we step into freedom. A healthy person will express their feelings. If they are upset, they will speak honestly, not vanish into cold detachment. A mature relationship is built on clarity, not confusion. Silence used as a means to punish is not a quiet pause. It is emotional manipulation, and it deserves no accommodation. So how do you respond? You do not chase. You do not beg. You do not unravel yourself to earn their attention. Instead, you do the one thing that breaks the spell. You match their silence with stillness. Not out of spite, but out of strength. If someone decides to disappear, let them. If they cannot face a conversation but can vanish with ease, that is not someone who values connection. That is someone who uses absence as a tool to provoke guilt and submission. Let them be silent, and use that silence for your own clarity. Reflect, reset, and remember your worth. Your value is not diminished by someone's refusal to speak. In fact, their inability to face discomfort with honesty reveals more about them than it ever does about you. The one who can remain calm in the face of silence holds the power, not the one who withholds love to gain it. When you choose not to react, not to explain, and not to beg, you shatter the illusion that their withdrawal controls your world. Let the silence speak. Let it say this: I am not yours to manipulate. I will not play a game where my peace is the price. And if your love disappears at the first sign of tension, then it was never truly love to begin with. Number 4, fake love overload. Not all manipulation begins with cruelty. Sometimes it arrives wrapped in charm, in warmth, in words so sweet they disarm you before you even realize what is happening. This is the subtle danger of love bombing. It does not look like a mind game at first. In fact, it feels like everything you ever wanted: constant affection, intense praise, thoughtful gifts, endless attention. It feels like being seen, celebrated, and chosen. But beneath the surface, something far more calculated is at play. Love bombing is not love. It is a strategy. Its purpose is not to build connection, but to create dependence. The manipulator floods your senses with pleasure and validation, triggering your brain to crave more of it. Every compliment, every romantic gesture, every message is part of a pattern, not a spontaneous act of affection. And as your guard comes down, as you begin to trust, something changes. Slowly but unmistakably, the energy shifts. The messages become less frequent. The compliments fade. The intensity cools. And in their place grows a quiet distance that unsettles you. You start to question yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was I too much? How do I bring back that perfect version of them? That longing is the real trap. Because now you are no longer just receiving attention. You are chasing it. You are trying to earn what once felt freely given. And that is when control sets in. From this moment forward, their affection becomes conditional. If you please them, it returns. If you disagree, disappoint, or assert your own needs, it vanishes. You learn, often unconsciously, to perform for their approval, to shrink your voice, suppress your instincts, and mold yourself into whatever shape will bring their warmth back. This is not love. This is behavioral training. The Stoics understood that anything which controls your peace is a form of bondage. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And Epictetus reminds us that we should never surrender our judgment to another. Love bombing erodes your judgment by making you dependent on external validation. But true love does not enslave, it liberates. True love invites growth, not performance. So how do you protect yourself? First, be mindful of pace. Genuine relationships unfold with time. They are not rushed, not forced, not overly intense in their beginnings. If someone showers you with overwhelming affection before they even know you, pause. Ask yourself why they are trying to fast forward the connection. Emotional intimacy is something that must be earned, not manufactured. Trust is a slow fire, not a sudden blaze. Second, pay attention to consistency. Healthy affection does not vanish when you say no. Real love remains steady when you set boundaries. If someone becomes cold or distant the moment you stop conforming, it was never love. It was a transaction, and you owe no debt to someone who only values you when you obey. Lastly, remember that you are not here to be dazzled into submission. You are not a canvas for someone else to project their fantasies onto. You are a human being, worthy of respect, patience, and clarity. If something feels too good to be true, do not silence that intuition. Listen, observe. Stand still long enough to see what remains after the storm of affection passes. In the end, love should feel like peace, not confusion. It should bring clarity, not anxiety. The more you honor your inner stillness, the harder it becomes for anyone to shake you with grand illusions. A Stoic does not fear losing false affection. They fear losing their clarity. And that is what you must protect above all. Number 5. Endless proving game. Imagine working hard to meet someone's expectations. You deliver exactly what they asked for, but just when you think you've done enough, the target shifts. They raise the bar without warning. What was once the finish line suddenly moves out of reach. This is not high standards. This is not motivation. This is a game, and the only rule is that nothing you do will ever be enough. At first, it feels like they are challenging you because they believe in your potential. But as time goes on, you begin to feel drained. No matter how much effort you put in, the goal keeps changing. You find yourself trapped in an exhausting cycle of trying to prove your worth. And still, there is no recognition, no closure, no peace. Just more hoops to jump through, more silent disapproval, more subtle suggestions that you are still falling short. This tactic works because it triggers self-doubt. Instead of questioning the shifting expectations, you begin questioning yourself. Maybe I could have done better. Maybe I really am not enough yet. That is exactly where they want you, always striving, always apologizing, always seeking approval that will never come. This happens in every kind of relationship. A manager who keeps adding tasks after each deadline. A partner who becomes distant no matter how much you give. A parent who withholds affection unless you meet some invisible standard. And the message is always the same. You are not quite good enough, but maybe, if you try a little harder, you will be. The Stoics warned us not to let others define our value. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the approval of others is nothing compared to the approval of your own conscience. Your worth is not determined by someone else's shifting standards. It is measured by your own integrity, your own effort, your own peace of mind. So how do you protect yourself? Recognize the pattern. When someone keeps changing the expectations without cause, speak the truth. Say clearly, "You asked for this. I delivered it. If that is no longer enough, that is not my failure." Refuse to keep running in a race with no finish line. Set your own standards. Decide for yourself when your effort has been enough. And once you have given your best, let that be your answer. You do not need to prove your worth to those who refuse to see it. You do not need to keep striving for validation that will never be offered. Walk away from the endless race. Stand still, and remember that your value was never theirs to measure. Number 6. Turning people against you. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone says, "Even Sarah agrees that you overreacted," or "Mark thinks you are being unreasonable too"? This tactic is not about honest dialogue. It is triangulation, a psychological strategy manipulators use to dominate conversations, distort perceptions, and make you feel cornered. Instead of addressing a conflict directly, they recruit a third party to reinforce their perspective, often without that person's full knowledge or consent. The goal is simple: to make you question yourself and to paint you as the problem. Triangulation works because it hijacks our natural need to belong. Humans fear exclusion. We are deeply wired to stay connected, to be understood, to be seen as part of the group. A manipulator takes that need and weaponizes it. They isolate you by making it seem like everyone else agrees with them, whether it is a friend, a co-worker, or a family member. They invoke a third name, not to seek truth, but to tilt the scale against you. The Stoics warned us against being swept away by the opinions of others. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the opinion of others, especially when filtered through manipulation, should never disturb our inner judgment. What matters is not how many people agree with a falsehood, but how firmly we stand in truth. You will see this tactic used everywhere: in families where one sibling is turned against another, in offices where a boss spreads half-truths to divide a team, in relationships where partners are made to feel isolated and misunderstood through invented consensus. And always, the aim is the same: to confuse, to divide, to conquer. So how do you fight back? By breaking the triangle. The moment someone invokes another person's name to strengthen their position, respond with calm and clarity. Say, "If Sarah has something to say, she can tell me herself." Or, "Let's bring Mark into this conversation and hear his side directly." Manipulators thrive in shadows. They lose power when the full light of direct communication shines on their game. A Stoic does not allow their peace to be disturbed by second-hand narratives. Insist on first-hand truth. Guard your mind from those who seek to rewrite your story by controlling who gets to speak and who gets to be heard. You owe no loyalty to a story told in whispers. Speak clearly, ask directly, and never let anyone make you the villain in a tale you did not author. Number 7. Victimhood for power. There are people who do not just avoid accountability, they transform their suffering into a strategy. These individuals master the subtle art of playing the victim, not as a cry for help, but as a calculated means to shift blame and seize control. Every conflict becomes proof of how cruel the world is to them. Every mistake is someone else's fault, and before you know it, you are the one apologizing, questioning yourself, feeling guilty for ever doubting them. At first, it looks harmless. They speak often of how life has been unkind. They recount how others have used, mistreated, or betrayed them. You feel empathy. You want to be the one who finally treats them right. But soon, patterns begin to emerge. No matter the situation, they are never responsible. Every failed relationship was because the other person was toxic. Every argument was a misunderstanding. Every setback was someone else's doing. They deflect, distort, and deny. The danger is not just in their stories, it is in how those stories are used. When someone consistently paints themselves as a perpetual victim, they do not just seek comfort, they seek control. Sympathy becomes a shield. Guilt becomes a weapon. The more you care, the more power they gain. And if you ever challenge them, even gently, you are suddenly cast as the villain. You are accused of being cold, unsupportive, or lacking compassion. But the Stoic understands the difference between suffering and manipulation. Marcus Aurelius taught that adversity is something to rise through, not something to hide behind. Real pain seeks healing. Manipulated pain seeks leverage. A true victim desires restoration. A chronic manipulator desires advantage. Their sorrow is not a bridge to connection. It is a tool to keep you entangled in their emotional world, constantly trying to fix what they have no intention of changing. So how do you protect yourself? Watch for consistency. Do they ever take responsibility for their actions? Do they show signs of growth, of trying to resolve their problems? Or do they recycle the same complaints year after year, using their story to excuse bad behavior? The moment you realize someone is using hardship as a mask to avoid growth, step back. You can acknowledge their pain without absorbing their consequences. The Stoic path demands both compassion and clarity. It calls you to care without being controlled, to listen without being manipulated, and to remember that true strength is not found in feeling sorry for someone. It is found in helping them rise while refusing to be pulled under by their refusal to change. The moment you stop feeling guilty for holding someone accountable is the moment their control begins to fade. You are not here to carry the weight of those who refuse to walk beside you. Let them go, and watch how quickly they find someone else to play their game with. Mind games only work in silence. They thrive when you doubt yourself, when you seek peace by surrendering your truth. But once you see the tactics clearly, they lose their grip. You no longer question your memory when someone gaslights you. You stop apologizing for setting limits. You stop chasing people who punish you with distance or affection that only comes when you obey. The key is simple. You do not have to play. Manipulators only win when you agree to their rules. So stay grounded, trust your voice, and choose peace over performance. Which of these tactics have you seen most often? Comment below with just 3 words: stay in truth. And if this brought clarity, take a moment to subscribe. There is still more to uncover. You are not alone in this.